Tonight, locked out and feeling defeated. A group of recording artists evicted from a Toronto landmark.
We cannot even access our unit right now. So we're sitting outside of the cube.
Why the developer who recently bought the cubes says action against the tenants was warranted.
You can track them all over the place, but if you don't have the police presence to reel them in, you're wasting money.
Plus, spinning his wheels, even after telling police where his stolen car was, why it still took weeks. The Toronto man saga coming as federal officials commit millions to the GTA's unrelenting auto theft problem.
It is a good idea to limit it to diabetic patients. They should be prioritized.
And new limits on Ozempic being prescribed for weight loss. Who will be prioritized in Ontario and why some health providers worry about those being restricted. But first tonight, a live look at City Hall. A major focus of our coverage this week has been Olivia Chow's first budget as mayor, and that'll be officially unveiled tomorrow. But already tonight, a big headline for you. CBC Toronto has confirmed the residential property tax increase will be 9.5%. That's 1 percentage point less than the original proposal of 10.5% that staff put forward. The budget goes before council in a couple of weeks, but tomorrow it'll be a major day for city politics. The mayor's office tells us she'll be unveiling her full spending plan tomorrow morning. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. That property tax increase in Chow's budget just compounding the unaffordability crisis gripping our region. And tonight, another sign of the trickle-down impact on a lot of people. Renters of the iconic Q building over by the Richmond Street overpass have now officially been evicted. Earlier this week, we were showing you the unique space was a popular spot for artists and musicians. Dale Manukduk has more on our top story tonight.
We cannot even access our unit right now. So we're sitting outside of the cube.
Luis Vasquez and his friends documented most of their day on social media. Before that, Vasquez and several artists were in the middle of a marathon 36-hour live stream. They say they were caught off guard when a bailiff showed up early morning.
We've just been evicted with very, very little information. We've been left in the dark.
A notice of termination was posted on the door indicating rent hadn't been paid to the landlord, Block Developments. Block purchased the building in November and intends to build housing. At that time, Vasquez says he was paying the previous owner just under $2,500 per month. Block issued Vasquez a new lease agreement on December 13th, backdated for December 1st. The new rent, $3,700 per month, almost a 50% increase.
When I actually looked at the email and I was like, I can't afford $4,000 a month.
On January 3rd, and feeling defeated, Vasquez agreed to terminate the lease and vacate by the end of the month. But then, the creative community began to rally and donations poured in. Suddenly, they had enough money to pay what was owed and then some.
We opened up conversations like, I'm sorry if there was some misunderstanding, but we do have the money. If these are the only terms, whatever, we'll bite the bullet. And there was no communication.
A statement to CBC Toronto from the developer reads in part, Block was only recently notified that LaForce Studio wished to stay on the premises. Separately, we have been made aware that unit has been used for live shows. This unit was leased as a small commercial recording studio, not as a live events venue, with audience accessing the premises late at night. The local musicians say those late nights when creatives gathered are part of what made the space special.
There's going to be a lot of people missing out on what's a beautiful thing, and the fact that it hasn't really been taken care of or treated as an important piece of Toronto's history or an important piece of art kind of reflects the attitude that's going on with everything around here.
The lights aren't out yet. Josh Holm can still change the ones inside the unit from his phone. The colors transitioning quickly, just like the neighborhood he thought he'd be creating in for a long time. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Focusing in now on a major play to tackle auto thefts in the GTA. Millions of new federal dollars were announced today to help our region's police services crack down on the spiraling problem. Lorenda Redekop has the details on the money and how local authorities plan to use it.
Police are seeing violent car thefts at gas stations, underground parking garages, and driveways. Today, the federal government announced $121 million for Ontario for guns and gangs, including carjackings.
To deal with the criminal linkages, the organized crime linkages to an increasingly violent and alarming circumstance.
The federal government says often it's local gangs swiping the vehicles with larger organized crime groups, then shipping them overseas. Interpol recently named Canada a new hotspot for these crimes. In Toronto alone, more than 12,000 vehicles were stolen last year, a nearly 25% increase from the year before.
I have a message to all the criminals. We're coming after you. We're going to catch you, and you're going to jail. They're kicking in people's doors with guns. I've seen videos. It's unacceptable. We're going after them, and we're going to do everything we can to hold them accountable.
He wants changes to the criminal code.
Why don't we put in grand theft auto? Why don't we put a mandatory sentence? You're breaking into someone's house with a weapon and threatening families. You should be going to jail.
The federal justice minister says he's open to legal changes for car thefts. He compares the issue to the tougher law on bail for violent offenders.
There's no reason why addressing auto theft can't be a sort of a bail reform 2.0. Sort of a repeat of that very successful model. This is truly a national issue. It requires a national response.
Car makers have been criticized for not making it more difficult for criminals to steal vehicles. But the industry says it has brought in new measures. It's also looking for a legal change.
We have to see some action on closing down the border loopholes that are allowing these groups to export vehicles. The criminal code is going to have to be strengthened here in Canada.
Expect the federal government to hear more ideas on what's needed. It's hosting a summit next week on fighting these crimes. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
So that auto theft summit next week will be critical in developing a national response. And Lorenda laid out the big picture problem in her report there. But I want to turn now to one auto theft victim's story. His truck was stolen, and even after locating it in a shipping container, the authorities didn't help him for a couple of weeks. Here's Angelina King with his story.
Press 1. Michael Walker was incessantly calling and emailing police and government officials trying to get his stolen truck back. What was most frustrating, he told authorities where to find it. Here, in this shipping container at a Toronto area CN rail yard, likely destined to go overseas. But for more than 2 weeks, no one would get it for him.
I'm not very happy that someone can't get off their hiney and open the container.
He feared it would be the second time his truck would slip through the hands of authorities. The 2023 Toyota Tacoma was first stolen from his Etobicoke driveway on January 12th. Not long after, the truck was located by the aftermarket tracker he had installed, called Tag. A company employee alerted police and took these photos. The truck was about 15 kilometers away, cooling off, essentially abandoned by the thieves waiting to see if it was being tracked.
The tag officer called me and said, I have your truck. I'm just waiting for police. And I thought, great, this $1,000 investment paid for itself. I'm going to get my truck back.
But he didn't. The tag employee waited for Peel Regional Police for nearly 5 hours. Then
he had to call 911 because he watched the thieves come back and steal the vehicle again.
That's when the thieves stashed the truck in the shipping container. Both Tag and Peel Police told us it's rare for officers not to respond to a situation like that in time. Peel Police also said all calls for service are triaged for their level of priority. In this case, a vehicle located without suspects present or injuries is not a priority response.
Welcome to Canada Border Services Agencies.
Walker tried police, as well as the CBSA and CN, which operates the rail yard. Nothing came of it. Finally, 17 days later, and after inquiries from CBC Toronto, the CBSA opened the container and located the truck. When asked why it took the CBSA so long, the agency said it doesn't comment on specific cases.
Nationally, it's a crisis. In Ontario, it's an epidemic.
This happened as authorities grapple with a surge in auto thefts. In 2022, stolen vehicle insurance claims in Canada hit a record $1.2 billion. Ontario is responsible for about $700 million of that, and the GTA $500 million. So some insurance companies are offering incentives to install trackers, including tag systems or issuing surcharges if drivers don't.
You can track them all over the place, but if you don't have the police presence to reel them in, you're wasting money.
Walker says once he gets his truck back, he'll be installing an immobilizer as yet another level of protection. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
The Toronto District School Board voting tonight to reschedule a PA day this spring because of a rare solar eclipse.
Not only do we not want them to look at it, we know from the experts that it can result in partial or maybe even complete loss of eyesight. The other thing is that when you have increased darkness at the end of the day, there is going to be a period of near complete darkness, I believe, albeit for a small amount of time. Kids are walking home in that.
All right, so here's the switch. The PA day will now move up to April 8th from April 19th. The eclipse will take place in the afternoon of the 19th, where the moon will pass between the sun and the earth. The TDSB joins the Catholic Board and at least 6 other Ontario school boards that have already made the adjustments ahead of the celestial event. Hard to see any celestial events tonight as we look live at the city. It is 2 degrees right now, and we are certainly having a mild send-off to January. Lots of cloud out there as well, and a chance of drizzle tonight. Over in Windsor, similar conditions at 3 degrees with gusty winds from the southwest. And we'll check in with Victor Paulo a little later on in the show for a look at what tomorrow and the rest of the week holds. Toronto police have released footage showing several suspects attempting to break into a home this morning. It happened near Queen and Victoria Park at around 4 a.m. Home security footage shows 4 men trying to kick the door down, and police say they were unable to get into the house and left the area in a black vehicle. Anybody with information is, of course, asked to contact investigators. Toronto police are looking for a man believed to have stabbed a stranger with a syringe in the Yonge and Dundas area yesterday. The female victim is now receiving medical care.
Considering the fact that we don't know the level of severity, whether the needle is contained anything, whether there's any diseases, she has gone under medical treatment.
Police releasing a security camera image of the suspect. Investigators say it was about 3 p.m. when he approached the 20-year-old woman from behind. After stabbing her with the syringe, he fled and was last seen entering the Yonge Dundas subway station. Police are looking for 43-year-old Aaron Chomenchuk, and they say he is wanted on a number of assault charges. Coming up, how surging demand for Ozempic is forcing Ontario to limit coverage. Welcome back. The diabetes medication Ozempic is commonly being prescribed for weight loss. And while Ozempic commercials seem to be everywhere, the drug itself is in short supply. Now Ontario is putting limits on how the medication is covered for certain Ontarians. Patrick Swadden explains why.
The commercials are everywhere for Ozempic, and while Health Canada has only approved the brand for type 2 diabetes, its increasing off-label use for weight loss has led to some scarcity for diabetics who need it.
I had really good control over my blood glucose, and I was feeling very healthy and very well, and then I got it taken away. And I was put on another drug, and it didn't do the same job.
Williston is back on Ozempic now, but some shortages persist. In response, the province says, starting today, patients using the Ontario's public drug funding system, including seniors and those who qualify for social assistance, will have to pay out of pocket to use the drug for weight loss. The health ministry says this move has been taken to conserve supply for those who need Ozempic most, and aligns Ontario with many other provinces who have taken steps to protect their supply. The province saying those with type 2 diabetes don't have to worry, but couldn't say how many using Ozempic for weight loss would be affected.
It is a good idea to limit it to diabetic patients. They should be prioritized.
This pharmacist says Ozempic reduces their reliance on insulin, which can cause low blood sugar and have severe health consequences. But
in the future, I think it should be considered also for obese patients.
Physicians prescribing these medications are doing so because the patients really need it, and there's no other option.
Dr. Sanjeev Sokalingam says he prescribes Ozempic frequently for patients who have health coverage because it can otherwise run $500 a month, and says it's been transformative for his patients suffering from obesity, a condition the Canadian Medical Association recognized as a chronic disease in 2015.
It can be the difference for a patient who had difficulty leaving their home or working outside to be able to keep up with their children.
Sokalingam says Ozempic is often used for weight loss because there aren't enough other treatment options for obesity, something he says will need investment from both private industry and government. Patrick Swadden, CBC News, Toronto.
In celebration of the NHL AllStar Weekend, rinks at 3 city parks are getting a huge upgrade, all thanks to the NHL AllStar Legacy project. Greg Ross was at one of them today, Alexandra Park on Bathurst Street, and caught up with a Toronto hockey great.
Leaf legend Wendell Clark standing here on the ice right now with some of the kids. So let's just really tell them what's happened here. The MLSE Foundation has pumped $500,000 more. I got to say more than $500,000.
More than $500,000.
That's important. Wendell, let's make sure I say more than $500,000 into these 3 rinks that across the city that are going to get upgrades. This is the first one. So we've seen some upgrades to the lounge area inside the building. They've donated some equipment. They've done the rink boards here and everything. You've been out here skating. I mean, you've skated in some pretty good rinks. Wendell, what do you think of the upgrades here?
No, this is great. Heck, I used to live in the area. It'd been nice. I might have been playing some shinny in my old days out here in this rink. But it's a great job to help for everybody to learn the game, whether you're playing ball hockey or ice hockey. It's a legacy thing, so it's not just a one-off for this weekend. It's an ongoing thing, so it's going to be great for everybody learning the game.
Yeah, just for some background, the Legacy is something that teams that host the All-Star Game have been doing for quite a few years now. So this is the Leafs' contribution to their community. The NHL is involved with this as well, so that's why they're doing this, to try and improve, I guess, inclusion in hockey. I mean, accessibility for kids, and that's important.
Well, it's great because it doesn't mean you're always going to make the NHL, but you want everybody to have a chance to be able to play our great game or North America's great game now. So you want as many people to learn the game as possible. It's a safe zone, comfortable zone for everybody to learn the game, whether it be ball hockey or ice hockey. And just to get the access, and it's not a cheap sport. You're trying to get it as feasible as possible for everybody and the kids to come out and learn the game, because the more they learn the game, the more they're going to cheer our guys play. So, and they can feel a part of our countries that have the game.
In basketball news, 3-time NBA All-Star Marc Gasol is retiring after 20 years of professional basketball. The 6'11" center was known for being one of the premier defenders, securing the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year in 2013. Gasol most notably played 10 seasons with the Memphis Grizzlies, and he was traded to the Raptors in 2019, where he played an integral role in securing the NBA championship. Reports say that the Grizzlies plan to retire Gasol's number 33 at a future ceremony. And we're hearing from the president of the Raptors tonight. In a statement, Masai Ujiri says Mark has a special place in the hearts and memories of Toronto and of Canada. His unbelievable vision and masterful defense were key parts of our run to the 2019 title. Ujiri also calls Gasol the undisputed winner of best performance in the history of championship parades. Well, it felt kind of chilly to me out there tonight, but for January, this is unseasonably balmy, and it is set to continue through the week. Victor Paulo has our long-range forecast.
Taking a look at the map of North America here, one thing to note, you can see the Arctic air mass slowly work its way down to us, which means we're going to be seeing a little bit more colder temperatures the closer we get to the weekend. But it's not going to be as cold as it was a few weeks ago, just a little bit cooler than temperatures that we're experiencing tonight. And as you do take a closer look here, you can see by the time we get closer to the weekend, it dips itself down, but as we do get later on towards the start of the week, the Arctic air mass works its way back up. But talking about temperatures tonight, well, it's going to be cloudy like you do see behind me. It's going to be 1 degree, feeling like -4. So it's going to be a bit of mild temperatures, but you also want to make sure if you are working outdoors or you are going to find yourself outside overnight, a nice jacket would always help because you don't want to be too cold when you are outdoors. Now, talking about rain and how much you might be receiving, well, again, as mentioned, not much rain will be really passing our way, just a light sprinkle. And if it's going to be snow, a very light dusting. From a bird's eye view, here's what it's going to look like as it works its way by towards the afternoon. And that was it as it just passed path by right there. As you do take a closer look here, you can see the majority of your Thursday is going to be a cloudy one, and you'll have a light system work its way by. Again, closer to after supper, another light system might work its way by. But as we do get closer to Friday, you can see the clouds start to disappear. But as you take a look at our 3 and 7 day forecast, here's the big story here. Once we get past Thursday, it's going to be some more sunshine in store for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And that's going to be much needed change because, as you and I all know, it has been a cloudy set of days. It's been a cloudy couple of weeks here in the GTA, and we haven't really been able to see or feel that sunshine. But as you get closer to the weekend, the good news story is we'll all be able to get familiar with it once more again because it will be here to stay for more than just one day. Now, hope you all have yourselves a lovely night, and good luck tomorrow as we take another cloudy day. But once it's all said and done, some more sunshine. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Victor. We will be right back. Ending the show tonight with a spotlight on a Mississauga photographer. Stephen Urani's goal was to help people see the city's firefighters for the heroes that they are. He has an exhibition opening tomorrow in Port Credit. Here's an early preview.
Hi, I'm Stephen Urani, and we're at the historic St. Lawrence Starch building in Port Credit. Welcome to my show. It's featuring the Mississauga Fire Service Station 104 A shift. And I spent 30 24-hour shifts in the fire station with the firefighters, living with them, embedding with them. The whole show was shot in black and white, which I think lends itself to a more dramatic effect than color. You look at a color photograph, you have to get by that before you actually see an image. This takes you right into the image.
But this captures a moment in time of the work that they do. And sometimes that work, it's a triumph. It's, you know, they feel elated about the work that they do. And sometimes it is absolutely heartbreaking. And you see all of those moments, a range of those emotions here in these photographs.
Are there any days that'll really stick with you forever from this shoot?
I saw them bring a guy back to life. A person had collapsed in a variety store. He was, they call it VSA, vital signs absent. When we got there, he was still VSA, and the firefighters continued to work on him, and they actually brought that man back to life. It was incredible. But we got on the truck after and went back to the station. Nobody talked about it. Nobody said a word about it. It's just another day what they do.
To see such pivotal photos of our firefighters, it actually gives me great pride because you can just tell that these firefighters, they love what they do. They really want to make a difference in our community. They want to ensure people are safe, and they do it at great personal risk. And as a fire chief, I couldn't be more proud of the Mississauga firefighters.
That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. And a reminder, tomorrow is Budget Day. Mayor Olivia Chow set to recommend a property tax increase of 9.5%. Tune in for extensive coverage right here at 11 o'clock and, of course, tomorrow at 6 p.m. with all of those details. We'll see you then.